My name is Zarinaneuman. I was born in a small town in Carpathia. We were 6 children. I was 17. My youngest brother was 7. We were taken a day after Pesach to the Munkács ghetto. After 4 weeks, we were loaded into cattle cars, 100 to a car, on the way to Auschwitz. The trip took 3 days, and there was a lot of suffering, especially among the elderly. Immediately after on arrival, we were separated from each other. My sister Irene, who was 13 and a half at the time, and I went to the living. My mother and younger children went to the crematoria. My father was chosen to work in the Sonderkommando, which meant working inside the crematoria. Later we found out that he only lasted about 2 weeks and he was shot. My sister and I were taken to a barrack where we were lucky to find my mother's 2 sisters. They were older and they tried to protect us, and most probably they were responsible for our survival. 2 months later, we were sent to live and work to a place called Brzezinka. This place was situated next to the crematoria. Brzezinka was also the place where all the things that people brought with them wound up. Our job was to sort and separate the many different items. We found food and clothing which helped us survive. The price we paid for this was to witness the thousands and thousands of people, young and old, women and children, walking through the gate to the crematoria. They didn't know where they were going, but we did, and it was very horrible to watch. And now we also knew what happened to our families. In addition, there were open pits where bodies were being burned, and the smell was overwhelming. We questioned God and were becoming very bitter. In spite of this, when Yom Kippur came along, we lit up the place with candles and prayed for a miracle. The SS commander found out about the candles and came with an aide to see. We were scared and didn't know what to expect, but they just walked in and out without a word. In October, some of the old-time inmates blew up the crematoria. All these men were shot to death, and a couple of the SS were also killed. But they did achieve their goal, because from then on there was no more gassing in Auschwitz. January 18th, as the war was coming closer, we were taken on a death march to Ravensbrück, a camp in Germany. The trip took 3 days and nights. It was very cold and there was a blizzard. Many people were shot and died on the way. Our last camp was Neustadt Glewe. By this time we were emaciated and sick. I was selected by the SS for the crematoria. My sister, not wanting to separate, put her name down on the list as well. Luckily, there was no time for them to finish the job because the war was over and we were liberated May 5th, 1945. One of my aunts had typhoid fever. She was in isolation in the hospital and they took away the whole hospital a couple of weeks before liberation. My other aunt had tuberculosis, but she did survive. So this is the story in a short version.